Good evening and welcome to the March 18th meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Joe Steiner and I am the chair of the Zoning Board. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the newspaper in the newspaper of record and has been posted here at City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's governmental channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. A transcript of this meeting is being taken using the video and audio. So we need all speakers to utilize one of the microphones in the room, either here at the, we'll be using the ones up here. You can use those, the one at the podium, and we do have a handheld that can be moved around as well. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and the back of the room where you entered. City has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs it, please obtain that system here at the dais and return it thereafter. Ms. Sulios, would you please call the roll of the members?
Sure. Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Vice Chairman Loikitz?
Here.
Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Mr. Nelson is excused. Ms. Zahn is excused. Mr. Curran is excused. Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins is excused. Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Okay, let's introduce some people. Andy Ball, sitting to my right, is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise the board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Stephanie Sulios is a city employee and is the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios works with the applicants on preparing their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Ms. Sulios also does not vote on the applications. Also present is May Rafferty, a representative from Collier Engineering. Our board's, I did it again, didn't I? No, okay. I miss your name every time. My apologies. And she's sitting there at the table to the audience's left. Sometimes we have a representative from our planning firm, but they're not required tonight. Those experts provide input to the board and also do not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but only a maximum of 7 can vote. And as you see, we're a little short of that. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Before we enter executive session and vote on the application, you will be advised how many votes are required. Each case will begin with an applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application process to date and the variances that are required. We then hear from any additional expert witnesses that the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are required. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board members and the board professionals have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about the case. That opportunity will come at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, again, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to help keep a clear and accurate public record. After all the witnesses have been heard, members of the audience will then have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into what's called executive session, where the board members discuss the case and vote. You'll be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in that discussion. Krista Anderson, the city's zoning officer, has asked that we remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision, and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in that resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in a resolution will result in a delay approving your application, as it will cause extra work for the zoning staff. The resolution documenting the board's decision is normally available 1 month after we decide the case. Now, we're going to change up just a little bit what we normally do. I normally call up a representative from each case, but as I will not personally be hearing 2 of the cases tonight, I'll turn it over to Scott, our vice chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Can we have a representative from each case please come up, state your name, and tell us if you're going to have any witnesses tonight and how many? So can we start with 53 Baltusrol? You drew the short straw.
Robert Venezia, Venezia.
Thank you. Do you plan on having any witnesses tonight?
No witnesses.
Do you expect your testimony will take 30 minutes or less?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. 108 Woodland Avenue.
Hello, Johnny Mudrado on behalf of the applicant. We will have 3 witnesses available, but really 2 are going to be focused on for testimony.
Okay, great. Do you expect your testimony will take 30 minutes or less tonight?
Yeah, it should be able to get done about that.
All right, great, thank you. And our last hearing, 35 Beekman.
Hi, how are you? I'm Jennifer Chacon. We will have 1 witness.
Okay, great. Do you expect your testimony to take 30 minutes or less?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, now I'm going to disappear.
All right, first up, 53 Baltusrol. Please come up and we will swear you in. Your choice, sir. Just make sure you speak into the microphone. Our attorney will swear you in.
All right, and if you'll both be testifying, if you could each raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
Julian Venezia, Venezia.
Robert Venezia, Venezia.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So if you could briefly describe the nature of your submission and what you're looking to achieve tonight.
Basically, we're just want to put a deck on the back of our property, and we are a little bit, I guess, looking for relief from the city on some of the matters that we have. Basically,
Could you describe for us the existing conditions you have currently?
We have a backyard with a patio,
Okay.
and we have a porch that's enclosed, and we just want to put 2 doors on the porch and put a little deck.
And can you please share with us, what are the variances that you're looking for tonight?
We have the rear yard setback was, we're proposing at 27.47 feet, whereas 30 feet is required, and that's in the northwest corner of the deck. And also, building coverage, we're proposing 23.71%, whereas 20%. So we're going to be over on both of those.
Can you tell us a little bit about the deck itself? Is it going to be elevated? What are the materials?
Yeah, do you want, can we give you a packet in front of you, just so you have it? No, we've got more.
You have more?
Yeah.
Share? Yes.
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 All right, we're going to have to mark that as Exhibit A1.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you get one?
You can skip me if you don't have enough.
I do.
Thank you.
Could you please
Okay,
describe in detail a little bit what you gave us?
Yeah, there was an issue where we said that, well, first of all, we bought our house in 1978, and we were young, and the attorney represented us and the owner, and for some reason, the deed didn't include the patio and the driveway. So, we told Krista we bought the house with the patio and a driveway, because there is a garage, so it was pretty obvious. But in the meantime, our neighbors, our very first neighbors, came back to visit us at our house about 2 years ago, and they brought, and we were telling them about the deck and how we were having a problem. And they said, well, we have pictures of when they were children and the patio was put in. And so, you know, we didn't put the patio in. The patio was there. And that was an issue, you know. So,
So it at least dates back to at least 1963 or 4 when it was actually put in.
so then, we were supposed to saw cut the patio, off of our neighbor's, I guess, curb. So we did that, and we were supposed to move our driveway because there was a little like pie-shaped part that didn't, it was on our neighbor's yard. And she said she would give us a variance, and we thought if we were gonna sell the house, we might as well change the driveway. So we redid the driveway and put it all recurved and put it on our yard. And, we just wanted to have a deck, but anyway, we're in about $12,000 on this deal so far. And we just, you know, are trying to do the right thing, but we don't seem to be getting anywhere.
Can you briefly describe the shape of your lot?
Can you do that? It's not really a normal shape.
Okay.
We happen to be in the bend of Baltusrol. We have Ridgedale Avenue right across from us, and it's actually basically our lot is actually probably the smallest lot on Baltusrol Road when it comes to that, because of that curve. So, you know, as far as depth goes, we're like 129, maybe 130 feet, and basically, you know, a little bit over 50 feet across. So we don't have a lot of room, but we did put some pictures in of the backyard, just to show you what we've got.
Oh, like actual pictures, yeah. because it is a weird property. Not weird, I mean, weird in a good way.
I know there's.
Could you please let us know who took these pictures and when they were taken?
I took them, actually, this week.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I know the deck height was also brought up. Deck height's gonna be 40 inches. Figured we'd get that in. The other pictures that are in there basically just show, the first line is where the deck will go out to. The smaller line is basically where the piers will be, so. And then just a shot of basically the backyard.
Yes.
Again, it's not very big, but it's home. And then we do have a picture of what we did, saw cutting that patio. So-
Thank you.
Which was sad, since it's been there for, I don't know, 43 years, so, for us, that's how long we've been there.
Just a question to clarify that saw cutting of the patio. Our zoning officer's memorandum notes that the patio is currently on the lot line, setback of 0 feet, whereas 8 feet is required. Did you saw cut it from that lot line, or is it still on the lot line now, or is it further back than the exact lot line?
Oh, we took it back, it's 12 by 4,
It's way,
way
yeah.
back,
Did you
further
see-
than she wanted.
So do you have a measurement or approximate measurement from the lot line that you're asking for the setback for that patio now?
We're not asking about the patio.
One of the
We
things.
did the patio,
Right.
yeah.
But does that show, is the curb now on the lot line, or is it back further away? Because one of the things the zoning officer noted was that the patio is 0 feet, meaning it's right on the lot line.
That's
Yeah,
why she wanted us to
if
saw
you look
cut
at
it.
the
May I-
picture-
may I
And
come and
that's,
show you?
that's what I'm asking is, does this show after?
Yeah.
And this is now cut back from the lot line?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the patio was over to here, to this curve. And so we cut it here, and this whole piece is.
What is the
cut.
distance from the cut patio to your lot line? Where all that gravel sits?
It's 4 feet we
4
took
feet.
out. We took out 4 feet.
Okay.
So what you're explaining now is then the setback is more approximately 4 feet, whereas it was previously 0 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Let's open it up to board questions.
Yeah, actually, that was the main question I had. I mean, I normally like to look at properties. I did not get a chance to look at this one, so I was working off the title survey, which made it look like it was still on the lot line, but it has been cut back. It's not on the lot line, so that's good. And even when it was there, when it was up against the lot line, it was not a lot coverage issue. But I'm happy to see that you cut it back. Do I have any other questions? I guess that really is going to be my only question, so I'm glad to hear that.
Anyone else? Do you have any questions?
Sure. Well, I just wanted to
Great.
clarify that we looked at the additional building coverage, and it's less than 300 square feet, so there's no stormwater mitigation required. Is that true, that you're adding less than 300 square feet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Are you removing any trees as part of this? That's all I wanted to clarify.
Great. During this part of the testimony, we're going to open it up to the public for any questions. Remember, this is not time for statements, but questions only regarding the testimony that's been given for this case. Anyone? Okay. With that, do you have any concluding remarks that you'd like to give before we deliberate?
I have just one question on Krista Anderson's memo on the review. This kind of came out of the blue, and that is basically maybe approving this, it may require us taking the rest of the patio out. It's a heck of a sentence to put in there. And I'm wondering, you know, what your considerations are, because, you know, just taking the section we took out cost us over $2,200. And removing the entire patio will be well over $13,000 or $14,000, and then to re-landscape that area.
Well, first of all, I don't want to take the patio out. We've had it forever, and, you know, then I just don't even understand why that would have to be done. Our deck's gonna be so small, we still have to have a place for a table and for people, you know, to sit and whatever. It's not gonna go on the deck, it's just a little tiny deck.
I mean, speaking for myself, I was going to suggest, before I knew that you did cut it back, that you cut it back to at least even with the side edge of the house, which I think.
Oh, we went further.
You went further, because that was about less than
Yes.
3 feet, and you went farther
Yeah,
than that,
yeah.
so. I certainly have no inclination to ask for anything more. I don't know, I can't speak for anybody
Thank
else,
you.
but I can't speak for anybody else, so.
We'll just listen to you.
Thank you, Tom.
So does anyone else on the board have any concerns, or would we like to consider granting that extra variance for the side yard setback to the patio as cut back in its current state?
I think we should consider it.
Yep.
Okay?
Thank
I mean, and Kristen notes also that the house is close to the side yards. I mean, let's make, if we're going to grant this application, we should tie it up in a bow.
Perfect.
We have letters from both of our immediate neighbors,
Mhm.
and they have no problem with it. It's in your packet.
Yeah.
They wanted to come, a lot of people wanted to come, but we thought, you know, I think it's an imposition to have people come here for this. You know, that's a harder thing to do.
Understood. Before the board deliberates, is there any public comments regarding this case? Seeing none?
So we have just one condition. It's our usual condition here, that you comply with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Is that acceptable?
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll just note, we're down to 6 members currently. Usually we have 7, so you will need 4 affirmative votes to approve the application tonight, since it's C variance is being requested.
Claire, you want to start us off?
Okay. No, just noting up front that I have known the Venezias for several years, though there's no financial conflict. But I can certainly support this. Trying to remember my high school geometry, I think this is a rhombus.
I looked it up on my phone.
Yes, okay, this lot is a rhombus, so particularly with the diagonal in the back, I can appreciate how one corner of your deck is a little too close. It is certainly well screened from the neighbor with the skip laurel. The neighbor directly behind them is set very far back, and if the neighbor 51 Baltus Roll has no objection.
She wrote a letter also.
Yeah, I saw that she wrote a letter. In the winter, the landscaping looked a little thin, but if she supports you, that's fine. I think this is a very modest request. It's certainly in keeping with houses throughout Summit to have some sort of deck, outdoor space. I think it's a very reasonable request. They're not pushing limits, and I can certainly support this application.
Yeah, I can support it as well. I think if we were looking at this differently, if you were coming here and said you had a deck and wanted to do a patio, I might be inclined to say no. But I mean, since the patio's already there and you've already cut it back by 4 feet, which is more than I was inclined to ask. And the forests are noted as well screened, so I don't think there's any need for screening. And you don't have a lot coverage issue with the variance, so yeah, I can support it too.
Thank you.
Anyone on this side?
I too can support it. I think it's very reasonable to ask for similar reasons.
Yeah, I mean, the deck is not that big. And, you know, the lot being the size it is it is constraining. And I have no problem with it.
Great, thank you. I concur with my colleagues. I think this is a very reasonable request. You are clearly being penalized by the odd shape of your lot. And it's obviously going to improve the quality of life. It's all taking place in the backyard. So with that, I can certainly support this application.
Thank you.
So can I get a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Stephanie, can you call the roll, please?
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Chifo,
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
No, I told you we can't do it for a year.
Can we have 108 Woodland come up, please? Ready? Excellent. Perfect. Our board attorney, Mr. Ball, will swear you in.
No,
No?
if you have an
Oh.
introductory statement, you can
All right.
go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the zoning board. Johnny Mujado of Dempsey & attorney for applicant Ramsey Musalam, who is the present owner of the subject property, 108 Woodland Avenue, further identified as Lot 23 in Block 1203, and situated in the R25 Single Family Residential Zoning District. Tonight, we respectfully request the board approve our application seeking to install fencing and the driveway gate around portions of the property. There are two small sections of the proposed fencing and driveway gate, which the applicant kindly requests variance relief to deviate from the strict application of the portion of the city's Development Regulations Ordinance 35-14.1, Section K, 5A, which regulates the fence height permitted in the front yard to a maximum of 4 feet, where portions of the proposed fence and driveway gate are 6 or 7 feet in height considered to be in the front yard, which I have further just highlighted in pink are just the sections of the fencing which would fall under that, that above the 4 feet in height. This application is focused on taking the necessary steps to protect applicant and his family from intruders, bad actors, and other uninvited threats from easily accessing the property. Applicant is a prominent public figure whose fortune and success has caused him to receive threats to his and his family's safety and well-being. Recently, applicant's family was placed in jeopardy when a suspicious unknown person trespassed onto the property, parked the car in the driveway, and began suspiciously investigating and taking photos of applicant's home before leaving. This recent event shows quite clearly the lack of security presently existing on the property and the urgent need for approval of this application to allow applicant to make these incredibly important improvements. The variance relief sought here is cognizable under sections 40:55D-70C1 and C2 of the MLUL. Due to the exceptional topographic conditions and existing configuration of the property and the existing improvements thereon, the applicant suffers a hardship of where the proposed driveway gate and fence may be placed. Additionally, we are entitled to variance relief because the purposes of the MLUL are further advanced by the minor deviations from the zoning ordinance proposed here. The benefits derived from this relief sought substantially outweighs any detriments affecting the public good or surrounding neighborhood. This application encourages development of land that promotes the public safety and well-being, secures safety from natural and man-made threats, and promotes a desirable visual environment. Furthermore, the proposed improvements are harmonious and consistent with the existing character of the surrounding neighborhood. To offer testimony tonight in support of this application are Elizabeth Talansky, serving as the applicant's representative, and Jeff Scotty, the landscape designer. We also have Andrew Clark, surveyor and engineer here if needed. I thank the zoning board for hearing this application, and absent any questions the board may have for me, applicants are prepared to call its first witnesses.
Please do.
Oh, I did have one question.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify that we're looking at a C1 variance, not a C2 variance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, they're asking for relief under both
Okay.
Right.
sections, so whatever
Okay.
the board, even if
Okay.
we don't find one, we can grant
Okay,
it under C2.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to call Elizabeth Talansky to the stand. Stand or sit? It's up to you. Okay. And then, really quick, before I start, during some of her testimony, we were going to show a video. I don't know if I need to get him or if the cord to plug into.
Yeah, I'll text him.
Okay. Okay. I'll pause once we get to that.
All right, if you
Thank
could please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Elizabeth Talansky, Talansky.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the zoning board. My name is Elizabeth Talansky. I am employed by Mr. Musalam, and I am his chief of staff for 8 years now. I'm very familiar with the property at 108 Woodland Avenue related to this application.
And Ms. Talansky, you're testifying under oath tonight as applicant's representative, correct?
Yes. Mr. Musalam is going to be here tonight because we're in the middle of a fundraise meeting, right, or fundraise right now. He's in meetings with people all over the world right now, currently Asia, but that is why I'm here on his behalf.
Okay, great. And so what is the purpose of this application?
So the reason we need to put a fence up is Ramsey and family have had multiple people, cars, just driving on his property, taking photos, videos. I think we've had to call the cops a lot of times. We have somebody who actually watches the cameras, and it's just nothing stopping people from going into the property at this moment. So that's the main reason.
Yeah, and we had just the most recent of incidences on that was just caught on the home surveillance video system. We have it here. We wanted to show it if the board wants to see it. We can play that.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yep, if you're able to connect.
This should work.
Is that it?
I think this one should work.
Thank you. Is this cable or?
That could work. That'll work too.
Oh, it is. Okay.
The exterior with the grass inside. Scary.
Nothing's happening. Hold on, let's see.
What's the date of this video?
This particular video was a few months ago. Well,
I think the very beginning
I
showed a
don't have the exact
2022
for it,
date.
But this is just one of many, many times this has happened.
I thought I saw 2022 up in the top there. Is that,
All I
is
see
it
is
more
it
recent?
says just 06:09:, it's just the time.
Times now. I have to
Yeah.
call the security company and get the exact date for you.
Do you want this submitted as an exhibit?
Yeah, if we're showing it, it should be submitted and marked, I imagine. We're on A1, right?
Yeah, we
looks-
can provide the date.
Okay, great.
Once we get it.
Doesn't look like
But
winter.
you're saying this was within the past few months?
Yeah, within probably last summer, but this happens all the time. People walk up the driveway, they take videos while Ramsey and Laura are in their kitchen cooking dinner, and it's very unsettling.
Okay. And so, clearly, right now, it's your opinion that, you know, the applicant doesn't feel as though the property's adequately protected against these easily preventable intrusions, correct?
Yes.
And why is the existing security and privacy not meeting applicant's urgent needs?
So Mr. Musam's property is examined to be presented in secluded mansion, unique, but sitting atop on a small hill, I would say. You can see it from many different angles from the neighborhood. But once assessed, the site is deemed unsecure because of the large open space with the front yard all the way to the home. Applicant has become very concerned for him and his children's safety. There is presently no deterrence or protective measures in place that deter or prevent easy access to the property and his personal abode.
Okay, and you've had an opportunity to review the staff review comments from the board professionals, and you had any comments or issues, or?
Yes, I had the opportunity to review the administrative staff comments and do not have any issues or concerns with them.
I have nothing further for this witness. If the board has any questions, feel free, otherwise I can move on to.
Let me just give one little blip. So I've been with Ramsey for 8 years now. In September 2021, he was named as Wall Street's top secret billionaire. He's currently number 92 on Forbes 400 list. Due to his high net worth, he has threats, which I cannot go into detail about, made to him and his family on a daily basis. This gate will provide just an extra layer of security for him and his family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume that one of your other witnesses is going to testify to the specifics of the fencing? Okay, great.
That's.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness?
I do. Are there deliveries made to the house currently? Like, do they, or do they get, their packages, how are the packages delivered currently?
Yes, they're delivered.
Through that driveway?
Yes.
So if you were to so the cars that are driving up the driveway are also delivering packages too?
Yes, but we have a camera monitoring and can also open the gate to let the packages in, and then they watch them leave the property.
And that's in the proposal for the camera? Okay. I'm sorry, one other question. The fence height, the security concerns, are they mostly people arriving by car? Or is anyone actually coming onto the property by foot?
By foot as well.
Okay, and then the fence, the security, I'm assuming you've talked to some security professionals, they believe that size fence, I mean, obviously you can't go higher because it's the front yard, that's gonna deter people, I mean, you can still jump over the fence.
Yes, but if someone's jumping over the fence, then they're calling the cops.
Okay,
Yes.
but but if they're on the property, it's also,
So
they'll be
essentially, it's
trespassing.
the most reasonable fence height without, trying to seek a variance for the whole entire fence. The property is located in kind of where Woodland Ave still sort of snakes uphill. So there's an existing retaining wall, but it just doesn't do anything. I think the applicant really seeks this to actually bolster some sort of prevented preventable, easy access to the property, which right now, there's nothing surrounding it. You pretty much just enter from essentially any direction. Clearly, it's for the safety of the family and the applicant to have some sort of measures that they can prevent easy access and have that peace of mind.
Yeah, and the wall, so there's already the retaining wall, I walked the property, at least on the outside, from my recollection. It is, the retaining wall does go around most of the property. It gets a little lower, I guess, when you go onto Woodcroft.
Yes, so there's that existing retaining wall. It's essentially, a few feet. It just goes around the front yards where the property fronts Woodland and Woodcroft. It doesn't totally extend the whole length of the property on those sides. It's just the large portions, just from the street view. It's more of an aesthetic touch, but clearly doesn't prevent any sort of access to the property.
Okay, and just another when incidences like this happen, have the Summit Police Department been called?
Yeah.
And have they
They-
made any have they made any
Yeah, like,
recommendations?
they have either seen some of the people, but nothing ever happens with it. Kind of goes on.
Okay, good.
Okay, Deb?
Couple questions, I don't know, maybe one of the other witnesses can answer them. I just want to be clear, that the proposed fence is basically on top of the retaining wall.
Yeah, I think the landscaper will be.
Oh, there's a landscaper.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, fine.
I'll fill in all the details.
Okay.
Great. Anyone in the audience have questions for this witness? No? Okay. On to the next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to respectfully call Mr. Jeff Scotty to the stand as a next witness. That's up to you.
If you could please
How are
raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes. I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Jeffrey Scotti, SCOTTI.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
I'm the owner of Jeff's Landscape Design and Construction. I've been in business, this is my 30th year. We're out of Cranford, and majority of my work is in Summit now.
Okay, and are you licensed as a landscape architect?
I am not.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Experience with hardscaping?
Yes. I've been in the business, I've been doing the business since I was 12, so I'm 52 now. So I think I got a lot of experience,
Okay.
Great. Well, accept your credentials. Thank you.
except my credentials, yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Your witness.
Mr. Scotty, have you testified before a board in the past? And if so, were you accepted as an expert in the field of landscaping?
Yes.
And,
Summit, Cranford, Westfield.
okay. And are you familiar with Summit, and have you worked in Summit before?
Yes, we've done several projects. A big one for me was 167 Beechwood, which I think I was in front of you guys twice for. 57 Prospect, 54 Templar Road, which are some of the larger ones.
Okay. And are you familiar with this project?
Yes, I was the one that designed it.
Okay. And then we just have 3 landscape renderings we wanted to enter as exhibits. Should I mark them first?
Yes, please.
That'll be A2 through 4.
2 through 4? It's easier, is it okay if I mark the back just?
That's fine, yes.
So, Mr. Scotti, you designed these rendering concepts, correct?
Yes, the 3D drawings, yeah.
And what is this first one? This is marked Exhibit 2. What does this first one
That-
kind of show?
That's the side entrance off of Woodcroft, I believe it is. There's currently one gate there now that we put last season because of kids cutting through the property. But a gate just in front of the walkway and no other fencing is really not doing the trick. So that's why we came up with the design to put the fence around the entire property. The reason there's a transfer from 6 foot, from the 4 foot to 6 foot, is that the 4 foot is mainly on top of the wall, which the wall is approximately from 2.5 feet to 4 feet in height. So with a 4 foot fence on top of the wall, it's gonna help prevent, or I would think, people would think twice about jumping over it. Plus, the fence is black aluminum, so it's pretty transparent with the plantings behind it. We have viburnum and large trees behind it, so it's gonna blend in nicely. But where we did the 6 foot and the gate at the entrance, that's to kind of keep it, one, for security purposes, but also to keep things in line with the 4 foot on top of the wall.
Mr. Scotti, why is the fence not following the property line at this location? And it's set in here.
Yeah, that's a very wooded terrain there, and it's steep in the back.
Thank you.
But just one more thing, just, if you notice how the pathway is and where the backside is in pink there, that's where we are also adding evergreens, so you're really not gonna see the 6 foot from the street. The same with the entrance, when you'll see.
Right. So, and this view is consistent with this, looking at this area.
Correct.
And then this is marked Exhibit 3. And then, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is the driveway area.
That's the driveway entrance, correct. Yeah,
similar
that's
to
also in
what we
pink.
have here.
Mhm. So as you see, where the 6 foot fence is, it's mainly gonna be screened by evergreens, and you're really just gonna see the gate.
And Mr. Scotti, this is the proposed fence all the way from the side yard near the driveway through to about halfway through that side yard. This is all open style fencing, correct?
Yes.
Where it's, pretty much defined under the ordinance as transparent.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent with the neighborhood.
Okay, and this is,
Black aluminum.
this project's designed in a way where not only are you not seeking to remove any landscaping, but essentially
Increase
you're
it.
placing the fencing where the landscaping does a really good job screening that, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And have you had an opportunity to review the staff review comments of the board professionals? And if so, do you have any
I have.
comments?
And no
Or
comments.
any issues with
No.
any of them?
Nope.
Okay. And just to confirm, the city forester's comments, let me just find the date. Dated February 2nd, 2024. It's correct that it states there's no objection, there's no trees
Tree removal.
being removed? Okay, all right, thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Scotti, can you tell us what the spacing is for the verticals on the fencing typically? If you had to guess, ballpark?
3 to 4 inches.
Okay, thank you.
It does have finials on top, so it's gonna not want to have people jump over it. Or make
Decorative
it
and
a
deadly.
little bit harder to jump over.
And Mr. Scotty, this is the, you know, the most efficient way to have these improvements done, correct? There's
Yeah.
no better layout that, you know.
No, I think the fence is really transparent, especially with the large shrubbery behind it.
Okay. Have you inspected the property in the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, and there's properties nearby from your inspections that have similar improvements?
100 Woodland has a 6-foot gate, same style.
Okay,
128, which is on the next corner, has the aluminum on top of their stone wall, which is pretty much the same thing we're proposing with no landscaping behind it.
yeah. This is 120 Woodland.
On 120, sorry.
Okay. And if the board requires it, or, you know, wants to see it, we have, you know, examples from his inspections of similar improvements in the neighboring area. You know, I wasn't sure if that's something the board feels compelled to look at. If they do, we have it to submit. So. Okay. And so after your inspection of these sites, is it your opinion as a landscaper that the proposed improvements here really fit into the character of that surrounding neighborhood?
I do, yes.
Okay, and that's all I have for this witness. If the board has any questions.
So I think you've answered my question, but this would be sure. So the forester was concerned, no trees removed, you said none are being
No,
removed.
we'll be adding, really.
Say that again?
We'll be adding.
And that he asked for a dark color, and I think I heard you say it was
Black.
Black, that's about as dark as you can get.
Yep.
And would it be I mean, you're giving a few renderings here, is it, I mean, I don't even see a fence. I mean, it
Well,
may
that-
just be the rendering. How visible do you think this fence will be when it's
I
landscaped?
think it's pretty accurate the way you see it. It's, because it's gonna blend in with the tree, we're putting trees behind it, in front of it. So it's really to kind of, you'll get a glimpse of the house, but it's not gonna be as visible as it is now.
And I'm just wondering, I mean, is there, I accept your testimony, it sounds like it will be invisible. Is there a reason to get the forester to see some specific plants? Anyone else share that concern? Because it sounds like he maybe hasn't seen specific, because he asked about the color, you know, he asked about, the landscaping around the.
I deal with John a lot, so, I mean, he knows my work, so I would think. It could be a question for him, but
Yeah, I mean, would anybody else share my concern about maybe the forester seeing something more specific?
I mean, it's his testimony, they're not removing trees, and he testified to the color of the fence. I
Okay.
feel like it's generally satisfied, John's.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if the rendering's accurate, it takes away any concerns I had about the fence, for sure.
Okay. I'm curious, the retaining wall around the property is
Yeah.
stepped up and down, and if the fence is behind it, is the fence going to be one continuous height, or is it stepping up and down along with the retaining wall?
it's gonna be stepping with the retaining wall.
Okay, and so then,
I mean,
about,
as level,
yeah,
yeah.
so we're looking at perhaps as much as 8 feet from
Max,
the
yeah.
sidewalk to the top of the fence?
Yes.
Okay.
It will be staggered back a little bit, though,
Okay, yeah.
so it's not gonna be in your face, And then with the vibrant, there's plantings that are existing that
Mhm.
will be growing through the fence,
Okay.
so.
Any other questions?
Was there 3 new exhibits or just 2? I thought there was a
Yeah,
third
there's
picture.
a third. We can show it. So this last one is just to show kind of it blending in. This portion is technically permitted as of right, but, in case the board wanted to see it, there's an additional landscape rendering, just kind of shows, obviously the property's large, so this is just a portion of it, what it will look like with the fencing, as you can see.
But
fencing pretty much
If I could maybe ask you to maybe just kind of put your hand finger there across that where the height of the fence is, or
Where the fence is?
where the fence is in that,
It's right here.
okay.
The landscaping is very mature, so I guess right behind the fence is what I'm saying, the viburnum plantings. So they're as full as they are in the rendering.
Great.
Right, so this essentially shows maybe this portion of the fencing, just the board to look at.
Any questions from the audience for Mr. Scotti?
Can I ask a few?
I was just gonna get to you. Fire away.
All right, so could you just clarify what you were talking about with the transition between the 4 feet and the 6 feet? Because is there gonna be a transition, or is it gonna be 4 feet and then you got a 6-foot fence next to it?
No,
I'm trying to
because
picture.
the area where the 6 feet starts, that's where the grade drops. So the 4 foot is gonna be on top of the wall, so that's why the 6 foot will blend.
But on the plan, it's showing that 4 feet is gonna transition to 6 feet, all on,
So if
next to the grade that's on top of the wall.
Yeah, if I could. So what's proposed is essentially it's 4 feet all the way around, and
Right.
then where the front yard fence would connect with the side yard fence, essentially it's this 6-foot raise. And this is, on both sides, it's like the grade of the property as well goes up. You know, but it's proposed that, you know, it's gonna be full of vegetation landscape, so, you know,
Right.
it'll blend in pretty
But the
beautifully.
terrain is pretty rugged.
Okay, so you're saying that there will be no abrupt change from the 4 feet to the 6
Not
foot
like a
panel?
2 foot change, no.
Okay. Could you talk about the gate and how that's opening and closing? Is it going into the property when it opens? It's a 2-paneled gate, that's what the detail looked
Yes,
like, right?
but it has to open out because.
It's opening
it'll
out?
come- Yes.
Okay, so it's not like what's on the proposed fence plan, it's gonna open, this one shows that it's opening into the property, which, when I'm looking at,
Well, whatever that's what the fence company has there, so that it's opening.
so if you could go back to that rendering of the driveway with where the gate would be, I don't know if that works with the grade, because that fence isn't gonna be able to open in, because I can see that there's a grade that goes up, right?
Well, we're proposing to do a whole new front apron there, so the grade will be changing.
Oh, so you're, okay, so that looks different than what is out there right now and what is shown on here. Is that right? You're changing some of the walls and some of the
No, the
apron?
walls, we're not touching the walls, just we're gonna do a red brick to kind of incorporate the house, which is red brick.
Okay,
And we're gonna frame it with Belgian block, which is the gray. And then up where the gate is, there's gonna be some regrading so that the gate opens and closes freely.
okay. I'm concerned that that doesn't really match what's on this plan then, because it seems to me that you have to, I don't see any elevations on this, but if you're doing some regrading on the property, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it's.
Well, as I understand it, there's no proposal to alter the grade of the property, it's essentially just, I guess, you know, essentially revising sort of the entryway they have now, it's pavement, so I think you're more testifying that they're gonna, you know,
There's not it's not a huge change in grade.
But that fence, as shown on the proposed fence plan, is a good distance in the driveway. It's not right at the roadway.
No, it's approximately 25 to 30 feet in from the sidewalk.
I'm just not sure how it's gonna open in. Because
So
it
that
doesn't,
pi-
it
But
doesn't
wouldn't
look
they-
like it's gonna match.
Wouldn't they cut the bottom of the fence high enough so that
Right,
it
but
swings
then
freely?
that negates the safety concerns. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out, which,
No.
to me, it only seems like it could open
What's that?
out towards the road, based on what I'm seeing there. and
The
just like
fence
you
is
see
not in
on
that,
the street.
you can't see the fence. The fence is all the way up the driveway, right?
No,
That's the
no,
reason.
you can see it from the road. It's just that you want me to grab it for you?
Yes, can you just say where the fence is? I don't even.
this grade is relatively flat. So once you get around the bend, it starts going up.
So the gate is,
It's hard to see.
oh, all the way back there,
It's
okay.
right here. So there's gonna be screening of horn beams, which are on this side right now. And then you're gonna have the arborvitae where the 6-foot fence is. It's here, and here, and then this is the gate.
Okay, so you're testifying that it'll be shown at the location it is on the plan, and it's going to open into the property, not out,
Yes.
and there's not any significant grading on the driveway.
Not significant.
Let's see if there's anything else.
Do you have any cross-section showing the stone wall regarding the fence? What's the offset between the fence and the stone wall?
Approximately 2 feet.
2 feet.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not all.
It's not gonna go, it's not sitting on top of the wall.
Yeah, but it's all around the property?
Yes.
2 feet. Okay, thank you. And what's gonna be in this 2 feet?
They have Pachysandra right now,
Okay.
like a ground cover.
I have a question.
Yes.
The gate
Mhm.
on Woodcroft, what color is that gate right now? Is it black?
It's black.
It is black? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna stay, it's not gonna be changed out
No, that's being taken out, yeah.
to match style-wise, or,
The existing gate?
yeah, the gate that's on the walkway?
On the walkway.
Woodcroft.
I'm confused. You talking about the gate that there is there now, the 4-foot gate that's coming out, or?
The little gate
That's
that,
the one she's referring to.
Yeah, that's coming out.
that's coming out and.
And the
it's-
gate's going up further up the wall. So right now we have, there's an existing little gate that we
Mhm,
put here.
yep.
But now the gate's gonna be up more towards the top,
Okay.
but it's gonna be taller. So we didn't wanna have it down here. But again, it's all gonna be screened.
Okay, thank you.
I think you're good. And I think we confirmed that we don't have any public questions for Mr. Scotty, so why don't we switch gears to Mr. Clark?
All right, thank you.
Does the board have any specific questions with regard to the surveying or the, any components of the existing conditions?
Not really.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. If that's okay, we don't
Marie,
need to.
anything you would need to hear from Mr. Clark?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any elevation or grading on the plan, so I do have anything to offer about that grading that's on the property, maybe particularly at the driveway.
Mr. Clark has to earn his fee.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E.
Thank you, and I'll note for the record, you've appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you appeared?
No,
I
everything's in
imagine-
good standing.
I imagine the board would like to accept you again.
Welcome back, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. So, to my knowledge, there is no significant grading that's planned for the gate area. I think it's a good point. I think at worst, in a space of maybe 10 or 12 feet, which would be more than enough for the swing of the gate, they may have to adjust slightly the driveway grades just to make sure it marries up with not having too big a gap on the bottom and being able to make the swing. But as Jeff testified, when you first come up and you pass where that new surfacing of the brick apron is going to change out to red, it does level off a bit before beginning a climb. So I think there's ample opportunity in that space where it's planned, that there shouldn't be any significant grading. And to the extent there is a little bit of minor grading, I think it's just going to be a slight flattening for a small section of the driveway.
And there's a drainage grate at the end of the driveway. Is that going to?
Yeah, that will be
that'll just
maintained, that'll be maintained,
Right.
you know, and they'll integrate the new surfacing in with that existing grate and repair it if it's necessary.
All right. All right, so I think that should probably take care of any problems of drainage runoff, but if there's any swales that need to be, put in to accommodate any changes in grade that might happen in the driveway to alleviate any runoff into the road.
Yeah, that can be accommodated easily, actually, because in this case, I've been involved in this property for a number of years before they integrated the adjacent property that was merged with it, and they first did an addition on the house, and then merged the property that they purchased to incorporate it into the overall property. As part of all those projects, it's not clear on the surveys because they're relatively small. Periodically along the edge of the driveway existing, there are small drains. So there's like a little network of drains that runs down the driveway in addition to the trench drain at the bottom that's all integrated into the design of the driveway as it was laid out originally. So there's like pavement and then there's like a stone gutter edge and then these periodic drains. So if we need to supplement with anything, there's already piping in place, is I guess what I'm saying, that we can connect to quite easily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Any
Well,
questions for Mr.
yeah,
Clark?
this is just more for my knowledge than anything else. I am guessing it's important for the gates to swing in rather than out to help an emergency vehicle get up the driveway as fast as
That's certainly
possible. Is that-
one
is that-
reason.
okay.
That's one reason. I'd say another reason is a little more practical. So say you're a guest who's coming to visit the residence, you're gonna pull up and there's probably a keypad or some way to communicate. If you've pulled up too far
Yeah.
and the gate
Right.
begins opening that way, then you have a conflict. So opening towards the property is the best way for that to happen in addition
Okay.
to what you
Yeah.
just mentioned.
Thank you.
Great. Any questions from the audience for Mr. Clark? Seeing none? Great. Thank you.
No other witnesses?
No other witnesses.
Fantastic.
No other witnesses.
Concluding remarks for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
In summation, applicant respectfully requests that the zoning board approve this application for variance relief to permit the certain portions of the fence and driveway gate improvements that exceed the 4-foot maximum height permitted in the front yard of the property. The statutory criteria has been met as set forth in the testimony and evidence presented here tonight by applicant's experts, which demonstrates that the proposed fence and driveway gate keeps out trespassers without resulting in a substantial detriment to the public good. The wrought iron style black aluminum fence is an attractive open style fencing that provides an aesthetic and pleasant visual appeal from the street view. The existing landscaping of the property provides screening that further minimizes any perceived negative visual impact that may result from the installation of the driveway gate and fencing. The proposed fencing is in custom and vogue with the surrounding neighborhood, and the proposed development will neither result in a substantial detriment to the public good nor a substantial impairment of the intent and purposes of the zoning plan and zoning ordinance. Thank you again to the zoning board for hearing and considering this application.
Thank you so much.
All right, and I've just got our usual condition here of compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum.
Yes.
Thanks.
Who'd like to start? Thank you.
In fact, safety here is a major issue, and I believe that the fence won't have any negative impact on the view of the beautiful property that you have. I do support that application.
Excellent, thank you. Tom?
Yeah, this is at least the second time I've sat on a hearing with this applicant, the applicant and property, same applicant at the time, same owner. Beautiful property, no question about that. And understand the applicant's argument, the need for security, and that the fencing, assuming the renderings are accurate, it's certainly not going to be visible. And obviously, that means there's no detriment to the public good, and there's no impairment to the intent of the zoning ordinance, and I'm happy that they're committed to maintaining the landscaping to look as nice as it is now, maybe even better. So, yeah, I can support it as well.
And I too can support it, without repeating what my fellow board members have said. The 6-foot portion of the fencing, 6 and 7 foot, closer to Woodcroft Road, is well off the street. It's not going to be visible. It's heavily wooded. The area to the left of the driveway, as you're standing at the base, again, very heavily wooded. I'm there on your security camera this afternoon, trying to figure out exactly where the fence fits in there. So really, the only portion that could even be visible from the street would be the gate, and then the 6-foot section to the right of the gate. But the applicants provided testimony that the height is going to be consistent across the top, so it's not going to look jarring. The HPC is in support of this. They think it's in keeping with the neighborhood, so I too can support this.
Excellent. I agree with my colleagues. For me, I think this is an interesting case because, once again, you could bring in the notion of scale to this property. You have some frontages that are almost 300 feet long, and for someone to be able to tell me they could spot the difference between a 4-foot or 6-foot fence across a 278-foot span seems challenging to me. So maybe that's something else we revisit as we make recommendations on changes to the DRO, that there should maybe be a scale consideration for fencing. But yes, I absolutely agree that the benefits outweigh the detriments. I don't see any detriments at all. So with that, I'm in favor of this application. Can we get a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
Stephanie?
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Chifo,
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Yay.
You could just leave them over there or put them against the day. Yeah, that's fine.
Can we take 5 and let Joe back in?
Yep. Is that okay?
Good plan.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
you guys want to, the applicants, please come forward. And this is 35 Beekman Terrace. We're looking at Jennifer Chacon and Brian Hamlet, right?
Correct.
Okay. Who's going to be doing the majority of the speak? Are you both going to testify?
or if you need us,
Yep.
one of us.
Why don't we can
We'll
do
swear
one
you
or
both in.
I'll probably get confused at some point, and then Jen will have to jump in.
That's fair.
Right.
So if each of you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
Jennifer Chacon, JENNIFERCHACON.
Yep.
You just got married, and she's changing her name.
You're swearing to that, huh?
Brian Hamlet, B-R-I-A-N, Hamlet, H-A-M-L-E-T.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations. And why don't you tell us why you are here and
We want to put in Exhibit A, our package first.
A1 is a package, or did you have something you want to say?
Yeah,
first?
I do want to jump in, and I understand, I've heard that there has been an agreement between you and a number of the neighbors. I was provided a copy of that agreement.
It's also in here as well.
Okay, great. So what we would normally do in these cases, and what I'll be requesting to do, is including compliance with that agreement as a condition of the application and attaching that as an exhibit to the resolution if the matter is ultimately approved. So any issues with doing so?
No.
Great, thank you. And that, just for reference, it's the agreement among the applicants and the neighbors dated February 29th, 2024.
When would be a good time to ask questions about that agreement? Should we-
I imagine we would hear their testimony first and then maybe raise those questions afterwards.
For reference, that's on page 31 of your package. The pages are labeled on the top, right? So just
Okay, so how are we putting this? Are we putting the whole package in as A1?
Yes.
And then we're not going to accept this as a separate, if it's in the package?
What should we do about that?
We don't need it as a separate. If it's included in there, that's fine.
Okay, so then the package is A1. Okay, please.
Do we need to talk about witnesses also? Or
I'm sorry?
is that procedurally, when are we
You
talking
you
about?
could just go ahead with your testimony.
You need to testify
got
to us what it is that you're planning to do and give us, and then call any witnesses you may have.
Okay, so we are submitting an application for a sport court, and it's on the side of our yard. And if you look at the property line, which you can see, page 9, which is the landscape improvement since we bought the house back in 2021. The hardship arises when you look at the way the property was built over 100 years ago, where the house was set relative to the property line. Putting a sport court in the backyard would effectively eliminate any sort of livable area in the backyard, and doesn't make a ton of sense where if it was in the backyard. So the proposal is to put it where a pool used to exist. When we moved in, we filled in the pool level and leveled out the ground. And it's just much more space over on that side piece of the yard.
Those dimensions are actually on page 30, which shows the dimensions of the east side yard where we're proposing to put the sport court, and also the dimensions of the rear yard, just to give you some perspective of it. But there's 134, just under 135 feet on the east side yard relative to 56 feet in the backyard, the depth.
And also from an aesthetics standpoint, if you look at the side of the yard, where the proposal for the sport court is, there's actually a berm where it goes down. So from the street, that portion of the yard is sunken, I think, 7 or 8 feet. So if you're looking at the sport court from the road, and we have a landscape plan to provide coverage as well on the frontage and on the side, where the Cho's house is, it would hardly be visible even from the street, just given the way the ground undulates.
Just for normal protocol, these pictures, who were they taken by and when?
They were taken around Christmas time of last year by myself,
2023.
2023, yes.
Okay, I sometimes get confused.
Yeah, so, I mean, one of the questions I think that came up in this is that, you know, why has there been so many revisions? We originally applied for this in, I believe, September, October, November of last year. At the time, we hadn't thought about lighting, and so we postponed to add in a lighting plan, and at which time we had some concerns from the neighbors that were brought to us the morning of the meeting, I believe, which was in January. So given that the concerns that were still existing the morning of the meeting, we thought it best to postpone and address those concerns. And so we apologize for the multiple revisions of this plan and for postponing it, but we didn't want to waste the board's time, given it seems like there were multiple concerns and issues from our neighbors that needed to be addressed first.
Which was the genesis of the legal document that we came together with the neighbors. They, I think, articulated very well what it was they wanted to see with the sport court, and we made concessions against the original plan such that any concerns that our neighbors had with it were alleviated.
And if you want to go over those concerns real quick, so a couple of the adjustments to the plan was the location of it. The court was moved further to the west, away from the adjacent neighbor's property line, to make the setback further, and it was also moved further away from the road, so closer to the rear of the property as per the request. The size of the court was reduced. We originally requested 75 by 35, and we've reduced the court to 50 by 30 as per our request, which is a significant reduction of like over around 1,125 feet. And the last is we, scrapped the lighting plan altogether.
And no pickleball either.
So the size of the court will only allow us to play basketball, because it's the square footage of it will not allow us to play any other sports on it now. So there will be, another concern was pickleball. So there will be no pickleball, there will be no paddle or anything like that. We also provided some covering. As Brian mentioned, the location of it does provide some natural covering, given that there's 7 to 8 feet that it depth is lower. How did I say that? Of the land.
The elevation drops.
The elevation drops, but there's also planning on putting evergreens and hollies to also further cover it from on both the neighbor's side, the front, and so both the east and the west side, so that it provides coverage from the road and also from.
Is your landscape architect one of your witnesses, or?
This is Tony, our
Okay.
engineer.
Can he answer questions about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, so what else, what's on your list there to go over? So I would say as well, just wanted to show you some pictures of what the property originally looks like when we purchased the home in 2021, and just give you a summary of the work that we've done since we've been there. We had an extensive landscaping plan that was executed over the first 6 months that we lived there. It's all
Page 8.
detailed on page 8 for you, and there's pictures of what it looked like previous and what it looks like now.
Well, unfortunately, we did not get a chance to read this ahead of time, so you're going to have to take us through it.
Sure, yeah.
And
I just give
explain
you
it
some-
page by page, and let us, I hate to take the time, but I think it's appropriate for the board to hear all of your, because I think some of this stuff is coming also from Google Earth, where you seem to be getting things from other properties. So you're going to need to explain,
Sure.
sorry, almost every page so that we all
Okay, so
understand.
that's, okay, we can start from the
Unless our attorney
beginning.
feels differently.
Up to you,
Well,
if you want to hear it.
And even before we get that, could you please clarify the variances you're seeking?
Yes, the variance to put a sport court on the side.
Right, is that a C1 variance, is that a C2 variance? I mean, what are you asking us?
I
So
don't
we know that the standards,
legal-
so that we know what criteria we are examining.
I will be talking about the variances later
Okay.
on.
Okay,
So you're going to be testifying. You will be
Yeah, it's
testifying.
C1 and C2 variance.
Okay. All right, does anybody want to hear
Yeah,
the
what
whole
would
thing,
be
or do you
the-
want to?
Yeah, I have a question. What would be the main purpose of this field? What kind of sports you're driving? There will be plenty of guests, or just for training purposes? If you could explain or give us more information about the use of
Yeah,
this
it
field.
would primarily basically, I would envision 99% of the time only be used for basketball. We have 6 children, 4 of which are boys. They are from the ages of 3rd grade until 11th grade, all in the Summit school system. So we bought this house with the intention of making it our forever home until, the kids are of grown age. But they're all very active in sports, and the boys in particular.
So maybe there will be some exception, like lacrosse, like football, like any kind of handball.
No, we play
No,
football in the front yard
Could
typically.
this be a condition of acceptance?
So one of the things they've noted in the agreement, I know we haven't gone through everything line by line, but they have restricted against pickleball specifically. And I don't believe there's any proposal to address other forms of sport limitations in there beyond pickleball, due primarily to noise concerns.
Essentially, a
Tennis,
basketball
yeah.
court, none of our kids play lacrosse, and I don't
Yeah.
think you could really play lacrosse on it anyway.
And football is generally on a grass
Tennis?
field. It won't be large enough for tennis, so no.
What, sorry. What's the size of a regulation basketball court compared to the proposal?
I
it's-
do have,
It's less than half of the size of a regulation
half
basketball
court?
court.
yeah,
What is
it's
it? It'll be
essentially,
one-
it's gonna be less than half, but it's essentially gonna be like a half court, but if you look at the actual dimensions of what a true half court would be, this is even less than what a half court is.
So one net and then like the key? painted?
Effectively, yeah. And that's why in the packet, starting around page 18, we put comparable, not comparable, actually much larger sport courts that are already in place in town. And this one relative to the set of piers, and actually on
Page 7.
page 17 is actually a table. You can see that in terms of just the outright absolute size, and particularly the size versus the size of our lot, it's relatively small.
Wait a second, this is 50 feet by 3 feet. That can't be
That's an
right.
error, that should be 30.
Okay,
My apologies.
no worries.
That'd be a really narrow court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you wanna go through the,
We can go through the improvements.
I guess our point of just showing you the improvements and what we did is that, we're great care of this home. It's a 120-plus year old home. And when we originally bought the home and when we entered, all we've done since we've gotten there is try to beautify it and improve it. Try to make it aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood as we possibly could. We're not looking to do any different by adding this court.
And I think even beyond that, we made a lot of efforts to, the improvements we did make, particularly on the outside, the previous owners hadn't gotten around to that when they'd sold the house. Everything we did was consistent with the Georgian design of the house. For example, the The patio wrapping around the house when we bought the house was concrete. Steps were concrete. We restored it to a stone face, bluestone and limestone patio. The driveway was basically a dirt road. We restored that to a Belgian block curb with pea stone gravel all the way around. We built berms out to the left and right of the driveway exits and planted trees out there. We removed a ton of really dead wood, pine trees that were in the yard and replaced them with hollies, dogwoods, birches. And net added, I think probably 10 to 15 trees during that whole process.
And one of the things as well is there was a very old pool that was in the spot of where we're looking to put the basketball court or sport court now. So the impervious coverage of which that we're adding relative to the pool that we took out is quite minimal. And it's in the exact same location of where the existing pool was when we purchased the home.
Do you plan to add a pool in the backyard?
No, that was actually, before we moved in, that was a thought at the time, but no, we do not anymore.
Filling that pool in was great.
And there was actually, when we filled in we're glad we filled in the pool because that area was so wooded and hadn't been, I guess, taken care of. There was vermin, there was reptiles, there was all kinds of stuff when we started pulling everything out.
All right, any other questions for these witnesses? Okay, then why don't we go ahead, anyone from the public have any questions for these two witnesses? Seeing none, anything from you?
No.
Okay,
I think it may make sense just to have Ms. Alfonso come up quickly and confirm that everything they've mentioned so far about the agreement and adding it into the resolution. Ms. Alfonso represents the neighboring property owners.
Yes.
That's consistent with your understanding of the agreement, is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's why I haven't said anything, but you need me on here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Alfonso, why don't you grab the seat next to and that way if you need to jump in.
Sure. Thank you.
We don't have to wait for you to come all the way back. Okay, you have any other from the
We
witness?
just have Tony, our engineering
No, I mean,
planner.
from the public first. Okay, but you now have another witness, okay?
So I have a sample.
First, we're
Oh,
gonna
you
swear,
guys
we're
are-
gonna swear you in and get your
Qualifying,
qualifications and all these other wonderful.
If you could raise your right hand, please.
Information.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
First name is Antoine, Antoine. Last name is Hajar, Hajjar.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Sure. I was the township engineer for Rafton Township for about 15 years. And I had my private company on the side. Now I'm working for the city of New Brunswick as their board engineer and city engineer, and also working for Bernardsville Borough.
And license in New Jersey is obviously in good standing?
License in New Jersey is good standing. I have a New Jersey professional engineering license, New Jersey professional land surveying license, and professional planner.
Okay. Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
I think we will accept your
I've-
credentials.
I've
and-
testified in Summit before as well, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why don't you just take the ball and run with it?
Sure. So I'm gonna take you through the plan. I know they told you everything already, so I don't know how much stuff I'm gonna add to it. But sheet one of the plan is basically the existing condition, except that the pool is shown on the plan that has been removed back in 2022. So the existing condition, basically 2.5-story frame dwelling with a driveway, circular driveway and covered porches, and that's basically the improvements on the property. And the existing shed, which is about 96. It's a vinyl shed from Home Depot that, you know, can be moved easily. It's not a permanent structure. So the original plan, this is basically the variance plan, the second sheet. The original plan we had, which was submitted to the zoning department, was a 75 by 35 sport court, and was just about 15 feet from the property line, the side property line adjoining lot 18 to the east. And obviously that was denied, and the reason being denied is because sports courts are not permitted in the side yard, they're only permitted in the rear yard. So we did fill out the application for a variance plan, and we shifted the court a little bit based on the conversation I had with the zoning officer. She suggested that we move the court a little bit, so we moved it. So at that time, we had 18 feet from lot 18. The property line from lot 18 was 18 feet, and we had 40 feet from the rear property. And we were scheduled to be heard on November 6th, and you know, this is when it was getting dark at 6 o'clock, or 4 o'clock, I'm sorry. So the applicant considered that light may be needed. So we requested that the application be carried, and we amended our application to include 4 pole lights, 2 on either side of the field, with poles of 12 feet high, which are compliant with your zoning ordinance. And then they went on, and basically they met with the neighbor and so on and so forth, and this is our final revision. So the proposed court is now 50 feet long by 30 feet wide. It's 30.7 feet from lot 18 property line, and 40.2 feet from the rear of the rear property line, which is lot 4. So the next sheet is basically our grading plan. We're doing minimum grading for this project. The impervious coverage, the pool was 1,001 square feet, and the proposed field is 50 by 30, which is 1,500. So we're increasing the impervious coverage by 499 square feet. And to mitigate that impervious coverage, we're proposing a dry well in the back of the property. The dry well is 8 feet in diameter. I'm sorry, it's a 10 by 10 excavation with the tank being 8 feet in diameter and 2 feet high. And I believe your board engineer confirmed that we comply with your ordinance. So we're also proposing 8 green giant arborvitae along the east side of the court to screen the court from lot 18, which is to the east of our property. And we're proposing 6 Nellie Stevens holly along the front and the side, so the court cannot be seen from Beekman Terrace. In addition, on the plan, in that field, the hash area is basically steep slopes. So to explain it easily, basically we have two fields, one where the proposed court is, which is about 3 feet lower than the front. And furthermore, that field is about 5 feet lower than the road. So with the screening and everything else, nobody's gonna be able to, or it's not gonna be seen from Beekman Terrace. The field itself is basically 4 inches of 3/4 stone, dense aggregate, 2 inches of base pavement, and 1.5 inches of surface course. So it's like a small parking area. And to, instead of having it blacktop, they decided to use these Metaflex, which is basically the flooring. Do you want me to do this as an exhibit, or, yeah? Hold on. All right. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. So I don't know if you want these as an exhibit, you want me to pass them around, you want to take a look?
I don't think we plan on holding on to those as an exhibit. If anyone wants to see them up close, we can.
I know there was a lot of question about them, so we got samples.
Can you describe it for the record, please?
Yeah, it's basically a 12 by 12 plastic, rubber PVC to basically, when you're running and stuff like that, it's softened on your feet. And it provides nice aesthetic color to instead of being blacktop, you know, all the way through.
That's what I was gonna ask, is it gonna be blue or black?
We haven't finalized any colors. I know there was a concern about it. I think we had mentioned that we would stick to a dark color, so like a navy blue, not like that bright blue, but
Yeah.
like a navy blue or like a hunter green that maybe
Yeah.
would blend in with the grass or something of that sort. Something that was dark and not light reflecting either.
Thank you.
And the specs of the material, if you're interested, is on page 46.
Any questions on the materials before we put it away?
How do you install it, and is it something that's gonna slide around? How is it?
No, they're, basically, it clips together between the 12 by 12, and there's a trim around the field that gets attached to the pavement.
So the trim around the side is attached, everything else is
Yeah.
set in place?
That's correct.
All right. I think that's all I have.
Nothing else from the, on these, on this thing?
Yeah,
Anything
just-
from the public on the materials itself? Go ahead.
Can I ask one question?
Oh,
John?
go ahead. I'm sorry, I'll yield to the board.
Thank you. I'm sorry, someone else asked that question.
Okay. Just use the microphone.
Hi, my name is Dolly Blanco. We live across the street at 30 Beekman Terrace. My concern with the material is...
Just questions at
how-
this
Just
point.
question,
Oh,
not-
I'm sorry. Oh, the color is going to be blue, and have you considered the runoff from this? What about the drainage?
That was actually gonna be my question, but glad you asked it.
Oh, okay. Should I sit? I'm waiting for an answer. That's all, that was really my
Okay,
concern
thank
was,
you.
is there going to be sheet runoff or, you know, and that is a question. However, I don't know how to state it so it's not a question.
We've got the question.
Is
Now
it
we'll-
blue?
Right,
It's
we've
blue,
got
yeah.
it.
Anyway, so that was my question, had they considered the runoff? And I know there's going to be a dry well, but how about sheet runoff? And affecting,
Can the engineer answer?
Sure. So basically, we took in the roof water because the neighbor in the back has complained about some water issues. So instead, the field by itself is far away from the neighbors, 30 feet from this lot 18 and 40 feet from lot 4. So before, it's gonna sheet flow. I don't believe it's gonna even get to the neighbors, depending on the storm. But again, we wanted to address the neighbor behind us because he mentioned about having some issue with water. So we piped that roof water to the dry well.
So I have a question about this. The pool has already been removed, is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
So in speaking with the city engineer, I think you can't take credit for the pool having been there. You actually have to mitigate for the impervious coverage that you're putting in. So I think, is that correct? You actually took credit for the pool?
I did take credit because I talked to the city and they told me I could do that. And maybe,
Because I think they brought it up to me that you could not take credit for it because it's no longer grandfathered in. I don't know, I mean, the board
When
felt-
was the pool removed?
sometimes in 22, I'm not sure what the date is.
I don't recall the exact date.
Before the
either.
application was pending, certainly then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, we have seen cases where it's simultaneous work that goes on. I don't believe we've seen anywhere a 2-year, approximately gap has been credited.
So, if the board were likely to vote in favor of this, if you wanted to leave that up to engineering discussions to make sure that the water was mitigated?
So potentially you're talking more dry well,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well,
And right
there's-
now, what they're doing is they're collecting a portion of their roof runoff to compensate for the additional impervious coverage, which is what you have always looked at. In this case, it might be that it would be increasing the dry wells that are coming from the roof, and then mitigating all of that sport court by doing that. It could be something where they're collecting water actually from the sport court. Just as long as they're mitigating for the amount of additional impervious coverage. And my understanding from talking with the city was that because the pool has already been removed, that the sport court has to be taken as new impervious coverage and not a difference.
If I could just say one thing, we do also already have a dry well for the roof runoff. So this is in addition to the already existing dry well. So I don't know if you want to speak to that,
Well, what-
Tony.
Do you know where that dry well is?
Tony, where the existing dry well is.
Well, I think what we need to know are the numbers. What is the number that we need to have?
It would be
For the
the
pool.
area of this sport court, which
Can
is
I show you
1,500 square
quickly?
feet.
So it's not too far from the, see where it says clean out? That's the inspection board on the grading sheet, the third sheet. See it?
Oh, near the clean out in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this, he's saying that the existing seepage pit is in the same general area as the one that he's proposing. So what are you collecting? Do you know what part of your roof goes into that?
I don't know. I would just say as a guess, but I would think
Right.
most of the gutters.
We tried to incorporate the plan from the city, but I couldn't get them, so.
So is it possible then that what you're proposing to collect from the existing roof is already being collected into another area?
Could be, but again, I know there's runoff going from, there's a pipe where we see water coming out of, I believe it's from the roof. And that's why, to prevent it from going to the neighbor on lot 3, that's why we proposed that dry well where it is.
Okay. I'm just thinking that it needs to be larger than what it is to account for the entire sport court and not the difference between the two.
What would prevent you from designing a capture or drainage system for the sport court?
Nothing. I mean, we could put a trench drain, where, the water will a sheet flow from the court and connect it to a dry well. But again, talking to the city, when we first applied for zoning, I was told that the pool counts. So that's why we didn't do anything with the sports court.
I think when the application first went in, if I recall from prior conversations, there was some confusion on the city's part about whether the pool was still there or not. So it's entirely possible the city official did not realize that the pool use had been abandoned and the pool had been filled
I
in.
did tell them about the pool, that
Okay.
the pool was removed.
Well, perhaps we can come up with a compromise that won't delay this, should the board decide to say yes. And somehow, with a condition of approval, require a negotiation between the two city engineers, ours and theirs, and when they come up with the proper answer, that the applicants will comply with whatever that decision is.
And so I think what I've heard so far is a combination of two things. A submission of a stormwater management plan which would account for both a trench drain collecting water from the sport court itself, as well as updated plans for the appropriate sizing of the dry well, and that would be submitted to our board engineer for review and approval. Does that accurately capture what you're looking for,
I'm
Marie?
okay with that.
Okay. Any concerns with that?
So eliminate the roof part of it, just capture the court,
I think you need to design the system.
You're not gonna.
just for the
All of
court,
it.
right?
All of it.
No.
Yeah, all of it.
You're right, so it needs to,
If
it
I'm
needs to
collecting-
capture the water that's running off from the additional impervious coverage, which is the equivalent area of the court. If that makes sense, to put a trench drain in around the court, capture that and put that into a seepage pit, I like that idea, and I think it kind of satisfies some of the neighbors' concerns as well.
Yes.
That's what my thought would be.
So if I understand this correctly, I don't have to collect the roof water anymore, just collect the court, correct?
Right.
But you're not proposing to impact the existing dry well that collects the roof water, right?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not.
Okay. Whatever you propose will be looked at by our engineer and approved by our engineer or not approved by our engineer, and you won't move forward until it is.
Yeah, I was asking my clients to see if they're agreeable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already asked.
Okay.
Any,
So this submission will go to your board engineer, or?
when the resolutions are passed, you'll be able to read it, you'll be able to make your decisions as you move forward, so you've got a month to wait. And you can pick up the phone and talk to the two engineers if you wish.
And now, Marie, do you want that to go to you? Should it go to the city engineer?
I don't know that
Both?
it matters. To me, it doesn't matter, as long as, I mean, if that's captured in the resolution, the city engineer can certainly handle that.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions on this particular topic from the public? Sir?
My name is Lou Blanco, I'm at 30 Beekman Terrace, and I'm speaking on behalf of neighbors who were here last time this was presented, who are on Beekman Road, who have
Just,
experienced...
sir, let me interrupt you really quick. First, you're an attorney or no?
No.
So then you're not going to be speaking on behalf of anyone tonight. But this portion is also just for questions alone. So you'll have an opportunity to provide your opinion at the end of the matter, but if you have questions about this topic, now's the time.
I will wait until, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the public? None? Okay. Why don't you continue with the rest of your testimony?
So that's concludes my engineering testimony, unless there's any more questions.
I think we've covered that. Are there, I guess,
I have a question. Can I actually see that, the surface?
Wanna see it? Sure.
Samples? And is it in terms of,
do we have to keep it?
because I touch it.
Okay. Yeah, because you touched it.
In terms of sound, what is, I mean, if, like a ball bouncing off of this versus a ball bouncing off of like asphalt, what is, does anyone, can somebody give me an opinion? It's like hard.
So I tried to research some of the stuff about noise, and I couldn't find any information regarding noise. I'm assuming the plastic will be less, but again, I couldn't find any data regarding noise with the plastic stuff.
I think this is quite a common material that's used. Like, there's a bunch of different manufacturers and a bunch of different types of brands, but in general, most courts these days, from my understanding, are used with this material for, one, for safety of the children, so that they're not getting injured, falling, et cetera. So like if you fall and you break your arm on an asphalt on this type of material, that's not the case because of the buoyancy that it provides. And then also for adults who are very active in sports, and it's easier on your joints and muscles and whatnot.
Any other questions, the board? Any questions overall on the gentleman's testimony? You have one.
Is the existing drywall currently working? Do you see any water flowing around now?
I didn't see any water moving around the existing basin.
So you think that one is currently working as it's supposed to?
I'm not sure, but I didn't see any water.
Also, the existing drywall is working appropriately.
How
Any,
would we do that?
What does that do with the scoreboard?
It's a water issue, and since we're
And
talking
we
about
cover,
adding
when
more
we cover them
coverage,
all,
right?
when we cover one, we cover them all.
I mean, we're providing drywalls for the court, we're not doing anything with the house, I'm not sure how it's that related to.
I understand it's an overall.
But if we're not, if we're not touching the house drainage at all.
We're complying.
They
100%
were
with the
touching it
drainage, so-
before, but now they're not. So it would have made sense if we used the other plan,
Yeah.
but we're not using it anymore.
No, I understand. I think that I'm getting to, I think there's an existing water issue the neighbors have been,
Can you describe it?
that's
I
where
think we'll
our
hear that
neighbor is
in,
gonna discuss that in
we'll,
the comment
we'll get to
section.
that portion of testimony at the end.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get there. Okay, any other questions for, any? Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted the applicants to go through this package with us.
Well, now that we've gone through all of this,
Okay.
I will ask the board if they feel that they would need to go through the full package with them.
No, but I guess I have just generalized questions that I thought were gonna come up during that.
Okay, well,
I mean-
we can ask generalized questions.
Okay, I
Has
mean,
anybody,
what-
okay, I got the answer on that side, which I heard one no, one yes, and one I didn't hear. And what's the response on this side? Do you want to go through it page by page? No?
No?
Three
I
no's.
have a couple questions about the agreement, which is part of that package.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. I think we're going to talk about the
Okay.
agreement almost as a separate item. And I may ask Ms. Alfonso to do that and do a review of it.
But I'd like to hear some testimony about why you should be, why we should be granting this variance, what the need is, and specifically what the need is when you live one very low-traffic block from a school with a bunch of sports facilities around it.
Yeah, I would say the basketball courts there are not usable. They have not been serviced in I don't know when. The couple of times that my kids have gone down to that basketball court, the pavement is not even. It's an uneven pavement that is not maintained, and they've fallen multiple times. This is a minor thing, but the hoops, most of the time don't even have nets. The rims, you can't even shoot the ball because they're so tight and they're probably like 30 years old. So specifically, the facilities that I have used at Wilson have not been maintained, or not really, it's not a usable basketball court. If you're talking about a baseball field, sure. I know they've used the pickleball courts there, and I believe that those, from my knowledge, I have not used them, but
I think also just from a peace of mind standpoint, particularly with the younger kids, had them playing basketball in our yard, which, again, that's fairly common, versus them being out of sight down the street at school. From my perspective and a safety perspective, it just makes a lot more sense.
and also I don't believe there are any, I could be wrong in this, but I don't believe there's any lights down there. So again, we're not gonna have lights here, but if it's dark out and the kids do say, I don't care if there's not lights and I wanna go outside and play when it's dark at 5 o'clock in the evening, if they wanna go out and shoot around in the dark, then they can, but then we're not gonna allow them to go walking down the road to do that, especially 2 9-year-olds.
And the other thing is, based on what we have here, is just canvassing the area around us, there's 6 humongous courts on Beekman Road, just Beekman alone.
Right,
And that's part of-
then those are all very, very deep, narrow lots with those tennis courts backed up against the railroad tracks.
There's some on the site, on the site as well, like 247A, Kent Place, and 80, what?
Well, the Kent Place homes then back up against Bristol Myers Squibbs. One of the Prospect Hill roads is actually an entire lot that sits next to the residents, because they were here before us a few years ago.
Yeah, there's one, there's a court without principal structure, an accessory structure without principal, so.
Right.
That's a violation of.
No, they were before us.
And
Oh,
if
they
it's,
got a variance for it?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I thought that they got the variance for the swimming pool, that the tennis court had already been there.
Again, that's not.
That's
probably-
not-
No,
no,
yeah,
no,
no, I mean,
probably not a
yeah,
reason-
there's no such thing as precedent
It's
in
not a valid reason for
vote.
us to necessarily do this,
in
and that's
zoning.
what she's
That's
asking
right.
for. What is
Right.
the valid reason that we
Right,
should be
right,
doing it?
yeah,
when I would just go back again to the shape of our property, and we don't even have the capability of putting a basketball hoop on our driveway, because the entire driveway is sloped. Well, the part of the driveway that's in the rear of the house. There's a slope to every part of the driveway, so it's not like you can even just throw up a basketball hoop and have them dribble around in the driveway, because you're on the slope the entire time. And you can also, the detriment of not having any space in the rear backyard, if you look in I believe it's the northeast corner of the property, has a very steep slope going down. So we would be back here in front of you asking for a variance as well, and I think we actually spoke to the town about it previous to doing this, and they asked us not, or recommended against putting it there.
They wanted us to stay away from lot.
Who
Behind
was
us.
that? Do you know who that was that you talked to?
The lot is, the house is vacant, it's dilapidated, it's in bad shape,
And who did you talk to that said, don't put it there?
the zoning officer.
Okay.
Because the original plan was
Krista Anderson recommended it not be there.
Krista Anderson, correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking who said what. Just saying I talked to someone doesn't always give us the answer we need. Claire, you had others?
That's off the top of my head. Maybe somebody else's questions will spark something.
Okay,
And putting the court in the backyard would be beyond the rear yard setback, correct?
Yes. I mean, we'll be close. So again, that will eliminate their backyards.
And it would also be more visible from the street.
So
Marie, go ahead.
Where is the basketball hoop gonna go? Is that a permanent structure, or is that a movable one?
Permanent.
Permanent? And where is that gonna go on the long side, the short side?
I'm not sure. I don't think we generally have a preference, honestly. We're completely open to that.
Well, when you paint it, you're gonna know where you're putting it.
Yeah, right. Well, I know they're not painting, right? They're putting those snap boards on this.
Right, so I don't think they're gonna move. They probably come in different colors for the lines.
Yes, that's correct.
So you would know, you would have to know where the pole's gonna be when you order your supplies.
Yeah, we will.
But we don't know now, is what you're saying.
Well,
We
I
don't know
think-
where
It
it
could
is.
go either, right, I
It's gonna go on
don't
the
have a
long, it'll go on the
preference.
long side, whether it's, on the east side or the west side is to be determined.
But it's only one backboard, or is it two?
It's a half court.
It's a half board, so you
Yeah.
only have one backboard.
Okay, I'm not a basketball
I have a,
expert, so that's why I may not be asking all the right
After
questions.
this
It'll be
case, you
10
will
feet,
be.
I believe, as well. Maybe adjustable.
actually,
Not sure yet.
Any other from the board?
I have,
Go ahead.
I have a question, actually, it's from Marie. On number 12, on your report, it says no additional sports equipment has been proposed. So is that, the backboard's been in addition to that?
Yeah, it was that, I didn't see anything about maybe nets, because I didn't know what was gonna be played on there, and I don't get it. I thought, you could be doing street hockey. If you're doing street hockey, you need some kind of nets that are gonna be there. Where are we storing the nets? And are you moving that over somewhere? Is it gonna be in a shed? Like, I just had questions about where equipment's gonna be. And, there's some things that you could have that would be movable.
Yeah, so that was, so that, when you said, so there was nothing even here, it said backboards.
Well, they have a portable shed, so I assume most stuff would go into the portable shed if it didn't.
There's nothing removable.
What?
There's nothing removable on the board.
Okay, I thought the shed was movable.
No, the shed is, but you're asking where the equipment would go to.
So it's
right?
gonna be
There's no
a
removable
it's gonna be a
equipment.
backboard on a,
Correct.
The
okay,
basketball court.
okay.
Okay. Okay. I guess we've heard all of the witnesses, so now we'll go to, you can have a seat, sir. At this point, we should go to opinions from the public. So this is the time for you to come forward, be sworn, and provide us with your thoughts.
No, that's okay.
If you
Thank
could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Lou Blanco, B-L-A-N-C-O. And I mainly wanted to make the board aware that neighbors on Beekman Road had a lot of concerns. In fact, the last time this was due to come up, we had filled a couple of rows here. Because they've experienced some extensive water issues over the past 2 years since modifications have been done on the property. So I think it's important that due consideration go into the drainage and the dry wells and catching the runoff from the roof as well as from the sports court.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's your address, sir?
30 Beekman Terrace.
And have you experienced the water issues on your property?
No, because we are on the high side,
Okay,
across the street from 35.
thank you.
Any other, please?
Again, I'm Dolly Blanco.
If you could raise your
Oh,
right.
sorry, yeah,
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
yes.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Yes, it's Dolly Blanco, Dorothy Blanco, B-L-A-N-C-O, and I'm at 30 Beekman Terrace.
Thank you.
We were not made aware initially of the color of the sport court, and I have to be honest, we live directly across the street from the property. We look every morning, I get up, bedrooms, look out the window at the property. My concern is the blue. I know that may not be a concern to anybody else, but,
They said it's not gonna be that blue, right? Not that blue,
No,
no,
not
these
that
are just
blue.
samples.
yeah.
It's gonna be the black.
It would be, yeah, you can see the colors in here, and I'm happy to give that to you. There's a dark navy blue, which is almost a black.
I don't feel.
There's a piece, and there might be a
that I need
navy
to
blue.
approve or not approve of it, I'm just voicing my concern, being that, I mean, we wake up every morning, I look out, and right now, it's a little country gravel road with no lighting, no anything, so my concern is the aesthetics of the road, and having this visible, and I know they say it won't be visible from the road, but, there is a lot of plantings over there now, and we've done a lovely job with the property, I must say. But my concern is the color and the view that we would have from our home. I also did have a question about with the fencing around it. I didn't realize you didn't know where the basketball court would be. Is there going to be fencing around this sport court? No fencing? Okay. That's it.
Well, there will be, this is in the plan, 12 to 15-foot trees right across the frontage, which, given
It's
the trees
shielding.
are already there, you'd have to be at a fairly high angle,
And just
looking
clear
down
the-
to actually see any court.
Just clear those 12-foot trees that's gonna be on top of, like, there's an indentation, so it's 12
Correct.
feet.
There's
And
a
it's gonna
5,
be
6
on
foot
top.
drop
Yeah, so-
on top of the berm.
So the 12-foot tree plus the drop.
So you'd have to be at maybe 80 or 75-degree angle from above to actually see the court from anywhere near the road.
And this is 130 feet away from the road, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any
Again,
other
it's 12 feet high at time of planting, if I'm
Correct.
that's correct, yeah.
Any other public comment? I would at this point keep public comment open and ask Ms. Alfonso, who represents the opponents. And they've come up with an agreement. If you would explain to the board the agreement and the highlights of the points, et cetera, without reading the whole thing, I hope. But-
Yes, thank you. I think, thank you to the applicants. They think they did a great job of explaining the basics of the agreement. So I'll quickly go through it. One was that it conform with the revised plan dated February 18th that the board has received. I understand that was been submitted, and it's also attached to this agreement. And that moved the court, as the applicant said, a bit further away from the neighbors. No lighting will be added for the court. The reduction in size to 30 by 50. The landscaping discussed, at least 12 feet in height at planting. There is a notice request, a requirement here if any changes to the plans were contemplated. The neighbors will not oppose or appeal the decision of the board, so long as everything is consistent. That's really it.
And also there will be no
No
pickleball.
pickleball, thank you.
As noted in there and as previously
I
discussed.
thought I had in there, this question on the color, but I think that we, just agreed that they were going to do a neutral color. I think.
Yes, I believe the testimony was a darker neutral color that will be used.
Thank you.
Can we make that a condition? Just to-
Any objection? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that's been agreed to by all your
Yes,
clients
the
and the.
neutral, dark,
Okay.
No, how,
I have a question about the color. That's for the main surface, and then the lines will be white? So there will be a lighter
We-
color?
we
Are
can
you-
use another darker color, so we can contrast two darker colors by the court, right, for the lines, so they don't have to be.
Or maybe like a gray?
Why,
could be
why
gray
are
instead
of
white
white.
lines an issue?
No, I'm just saying, to say it's a dark court, it's not. If there's gonna be some lines on the court, so it's not gonna be, to sit there and say the whole court's gonna be dark, it's not going to be. It's a sports court, they're gonna have to put some lines.
The
or it
main
doesn't-
surface color will be
majority of the-
darker neutral.
Okay, everybody happy with that? Good. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
some questions about the agreement, if that's all right.
Yes.
I love the idea, I'm very happy you all are talking about all this, but I'm just wondering, what happens when the Blancos or the Chos or the Zimmermans move, or sell a house and move? Is there any requirement that the new owners have to be made aware of this before they buy the house? I mean, I just don't recall seeing an agreement like this before.
So it's going to be incorporated into the resolution of approval. So technically, if there is a string and somebody starts playing pickleball in the agreement, it would be enforceable from a zoning violation perspective, regardless of who the next neighboring owner may be.
So would there be a requirement that the new owners be made aware of this agreement? Otherwise, how would they know, or? I mean, it's not like something we put deed restrictions, so obviously then they know what a deed restriction is.
Right.
but-
It would be a matter of public record, you know, all resolutions are, I know they're
Actual
not.
owners need to do their own due diligence.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's part of disclosures. I'm not a real estate transaction expert. I'm not sure exactly, but it would be open public record.
Yeah, I know there, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent either, but I know there are some rules that certain things have to be disclosed. Any known mold issues or, you know, God knows what else, but I mean.
Please be aware that
Yeah.
130 feet away, there's a 30 by 50 flat surface that's dark green, that looks like grass, that's surrounded by 12-foot tall trees, yes.
Yeah.
Please be aware.
Is there any way that as condition of approval, it will be just for a basketball court, period?
We haven't talked about that. We've only talked about the restriction in pickleball. We could ask,
We spoke-
or
We
if,
spoke about basketball here, that's what I remember.
right, but we haven't, as a board, contemplated any restriction on any other uses aside from pickleball that they've already agreed to. If the board feels that that's necessary, it can be requested.
What's your concern, I mean, what might be worse than basketball?
A sport court is really a wide range. You can do ice hockey, you can do
No,
jumping.
you can't. There's no
can
ice.
do
No ice.
high jump, a sport court.
Yes, you can do, you can.
Basketball-
Foursquare.
Basketball is just a one sport. And I would be concerned, and I would not support anything above a basketball, because that was what was discussed and discussed with the board, and that was the application. So I can't.
The neighbors
really
only
support
had an
this one.
issue with pickleball.
Yeah,
I mean, if their kids want to play hacky sack, who cares?
or kick a soccer ball and add a goal or something.
Right.
I have some problem if it's anything that's throwing with a racket.
Well,
How about a sport like
Hacky sack is
one
with your
arrow
feet.
is a sport?
Hypothetically,
must be-
there's, if there's nothing installed there, they could go out and play with a racket, play lacrosse,
do that
do
in the
anything
yard.
else. There's nothing preventing
So-
sports in an area of the yard.
All right, so why are we calling it a sport, not a basketball court?
Because we're not restricting it only to basketball, not as I hear it.
So,
No highlight,
okay,
please.
that's my
You
opinion.
know, it's your opinion, and certainly you're entitled to it, and we can appreciate everything you put into all of these things. But again, it's up to the whole board to make that decision.
I have a question along those same lines. So, I mean, pickleball wasn't around when I was little. I don't know when it came around. And this house has obviously been here a really long time, so there could be another sport that is almost more annoying than pickleball that's not in this agreement.
I don't think that's possible.
Flying drones?
I just think that to say pickleball is just too specific. Like I said, I don't know when pickleball came, but wasn't around when I was younger. unless it was-
1976.
76?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't around when I was born, so there you go.
Be specific.
And it wasn't around where I grew up.
Okay, we're kind of getting into the executive session portion, which I want to hold off on if we can. Are there any other opinions to be expressed from the public. At this point, we would go close everything. Should we get to, I've forgotten which way we go. We go, you with the,
I'll talk to the conditions, yes. So I have four.
and the votes, too.
Yep, and there's only a C variance involved, so you need 4 votes to approve out of the 7 voting members. And we have 4 conditions that we previously discussed. First is compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the applicant shall comply with the agreement among the applicants and interested neighbors dated February 29th, 2024. Third, the applicant shall submit a stormwater management plan to the city engineer for review and approval. The stormwater management plan shall provide for a trench drain to collect stormwater from the sport court and connect to an appropriately sized dry well to account for the full amount of impervious coverage being added, no reduction based upon the previously removed pool. And fourth and finally, the applicant shall utilize a darker neutral color material for the main surface of the athletic court.
Okay. Before we go into full executive session, I knew I forgot something. Do you have any final thoughts to present to the board? Wrap up or any? Nope. Okay. On behalf of the opponents, do you have anything, Ms. Alfonso?
No, thank you.
Okay. Then we will go into executive session. Who wants to kick it off? Tom?
Well, all right,
you got
I'll
it.
start. I mean, you
Be
know,
a basketball court.
this is another property which I've been to before. We had an application from this property, prior owners, a number of years ago. And it's a very interesting property, very interesting history. That, for those of you who weren't then, the properties behind your house used to be part of that property. I think there's a carriage house used to be part of the property. So it seems like the backyard's kind of short, but that's why I think at some point it was sold off and redeveloped or whatever. But I appreciate that you've cut back on or removed the lighting. That was a major concern when I first saw this application. I'm happy that you reduced the size of the court. Being there again today, I was happy to see that, or a little bit relieved to see how much below the main level of the front yard the property is. It's recessed, and I was very happy to see the 12-foot at time of planting trees all the way around, or not all the way around, but blocking any visible sides from the neighbors. You know, I don't have a problem calling it a sports court. I mean, I think whether it's basketball or kicking a soccer ball or, you know, whatever, it's not, you can't have a huge team sport going on in that small field, so that's not gonna be an issue. But you have that huge front yard where you could have a huge team going on, and we couldn't do anything about that anyway. You could have a football game on your front yard. And I'm happy to see that the neighbors signed this agreement with you. That's a very positive sign. And there are a number of these other courts in the general vicinity, so it's not like it's unprecedented, and yours is smaller than some of the other ones. You know, it's a very unique property. You know, you maybe could squeeze it in a relatively small backyard, but I'm assuming Chris Anderson really said what the witness said. I agree with her. I think it does. If you're going to have a sports court, it makes more sense to put it where you're putting it than in the backyard. Having said all that, I don't see any significant negatives on the neighbors or on the intent of what, you know, we want to have going on in Summit, and so I can support it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sure, I'll speak. I really want to applaud the applicants for their willingness to make several changes to their application, to listen to the neighbors' concerns, to work with them, to get an agreement that seems to have satisfied a lot of their concerns. And for me, I think we can consider this because of the sheer size of the lot. This is really not going to have a major impact just because its footprint relative to the rest of the site, it seems like a very reasonable request. I would agree with Tom too that the removal of the lighting is key to the success of this application. And everything you're doing with the landscaping and your willingness to do some sort of drainage or address any runoff concerns, to me, is a great benefit to this project. And overall, I could see definitely supporting it.
Anyone from this side? No, well, I will tell you.
Oh, I would, well, okay, I'm.
Claire, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Scott spoke to the applicant's flexibility here, but I'm not convinced that they've made that they've met the positive criteria. I really haven't heard. It's a unique property, but it's a really large property, and there's no, though there are tennis courts elsewhere in Summit on some other odd properties, it's still not common. I don't see that there's something really special about this property that justifies having the sports court in the first place. The fact that there's a lot of slopes in the property just speaks to the fact that Summit is built on a hill, and I've heard nothing about the C2 variant. So I don't think that applicants have met their burden, and I won't be able to support this.
You want to tell us about the C2 variance?
Sure. So we've seen it before plenty of times. There, you have to weigh the positive and negative criteria of the application. I think here, obviously, Ms. Toth's concern is the positive criteria, meaning what benefits does this provide, both to the property and to the surrounding properties. There are some general ones, appropriate locations of residential uses, for example. I imagine they would argue this is an appropriate location for the sports court on the side of the property. They also have touched on safety concerns associated with the use in their immediate yard. Whether you accept those as valid, beneficial criteria,
But that
that's up for
generally,
you to weigh.
C2s also go to benefit to the community and in keeping with the community overall, the neighborhood.
There
And
are
that's-
aspects that address benefit to the community, but it doesn't require necessarily.
What's the demonstrated detriment?
I don't think we have to get to that. You have to start with what's the benefit.
Well,
And-
the benefits need to outweigh the negatives,
Okay.
is the balancing test
Yeah,
that
but-
you are tasked with.
And I'd like to offer another benefit. I think part of the benefit of this is that it'll keep at least some playing activity out of the front yard and away from the street and in the side yard, because there's nothing we do about anything they do in the front yard the way it is now. They could do all this in the front yard, might not be as suitable as the sports court, but everything they do there on the side court, they could do in the front court, except maybe basketball, but they could certainly play football, kick a ball around, cross, whatever, could be done in the front yard now, and that would be near the street, potentially with cars coming by, could be more of a safety
Beekman
hazard.
Terrace, I'm not sure.
Not a lot of cars, okay, but there are some. There are some, you're right, it's not a lot, but at least it's not as visible.
I'm going to speak too. I appreciate that you got rid of the lighting, reduced the size of the court, moved it back a little. My concern is, when you're saying like they could play in the front yard, yes, but that's on grass. My concern is the sound. My concern is the noise, is the surface.
And if I can also jump in, just want to make sure you're aware, they would have to comply with, there's noise, the State Noise Control Act. It's regulations based on decibel levels. It applies to all residential properties. You cannot exceed noise levels on your neighbor's property boundary based on something you're doing on your property. So if, for example, there's a hypothetical even louder thing than pickleball later on down the line, that would still be in violation, and they could face violations on a statewide level for that. So if noise itself is the only concern,
Okay.
It would be addressed through state regulation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. This is, I really do appreciate all the work you put into this and the application and making the amendments and getting together with the attorney and finding a way to get a compromise built between the neighbors. But I do see Claire's points in some ways, but I also think there's an awful lot of positives here when we look as well, the positives outweigh the negatives. We're getting our drainage looked at from not just the, you know, the sports court, but from the rest of the property as well, because we're making sure that our engineer and the city engineer are gonna look at everything to make sure that we don't have a problem to any other neighbors. We have I don't, you could just call it an activity court if you wanted to, I don't know. It's just a matter of, you could play rugby on that thing, you know, except you might get a little rough edges from the plastic. I don't know, you could play a lot of different things that are noisy, and you could play some really nice badminton, and I guess you couldn't play croquet, but you know, you could play a lot of things that are nice and quiet and activities on that court that are not just the sports court. So I think this thing meets the criteria, and it's, you did bring up a safety position with your children, and it, you know, family is one of the things we talk a lot about in Summit, and we have, it's your responsibility and your obligation to protect your children as best as you can, and you're the one who sets up those criteria, not us. And your criteria are that they are not going to go to other courts that are not perhaps kept to the point that you would want them, but other people are willing to let their families go there. But that's your choice, and you're putting a lot of funding and expertise into making this happen. So I am going to support this application, and at that point, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
No.
Ms. Toth?
No.
Ms. Chifo?
No.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The resolutions come out about a month from now. I've been saying this every time, please read the resolution and follow everything in it, because otherwise we potentially have you back here for other issues. We have some other business to take care of here, so Stephanie?
Yes. So we have a resolution for memorialization, which is 28 Cromwell Parkway. That's ZB-23-2226. That's Block 1801, Lot 2, James and Lucy Nearing. Our eligible voting members for this one is Chairman Steiner, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Nelson, Ms. Zahn, Mr. Curran, Ms. Toth, Ms. Chifo. Can I get a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Chifo.
Yes.
The motion carries. So next we have are the minutes for approval from March 4th, 2024. Everyone here was present for that meeting. Can I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, we are going to talk a little bit about the, it's not on here, is it? It's not on this version, on our annual report. Scott?
Yes, so we have a draft. Please review it. You can send me any notes on it, but let's talk about it if we have time in executive session next time we meet. And, you know, you can give us yay or nay about, I think we carried a bunch from the last report, because I don't think they've been memorialized by planning or in the DRO or anything. But we've added some new ones, so please take a look at those. Let me know what you think, and then let's have a jovial conversation about recommendations for changes to the DRO next time we get together. Sound good?
Comment should go to you? It's comment
Yeah.
to you. Okay.
Yes, which will be on April 1, 2024 is our
April
next
Fool's Day.
meeting.
Okay, no fooling?
April Fool's
And
Day?
it will be a wonderful meeting that will be presided over by Ms. Toad.
You are fooling.
Well, I'll start now. No, seriously, April 1st is the date,
Yeah.
and Marie will not be
I
here.
will not be here,
Okay.
Carl O'Brien will be here in my place.
Okay. Then we
Have a
take-
wonderful time in Madrid.
Excellent.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
As I say, good night.